I think one of the myths about music production is that you need to buy a lot of stuff to make your music sound good. And the truth is, using the tools that you have on hand is actually all you need. Today we're covering how you actually create a spacey lo-fi guitar sound, much in the style of a lot of popular lo-fi producers like Juniper Vale, people that have a lot of tracks on those Spotify playlists. And this specific guitar sound, which kind of sounds like this. It's coming from a very simple, dry guitar sound, which sounds like this. Even if you're a new guitar player, these are things that are actually very playable and they make your tracks very interesting sounding. So how do we build the sound? In this video, I'm going to show you how to do it with Ableton Live stock plugins. And those are concepts that you can apply also to the FL Studio stuff, things like Destructor, Fruity Reverb, those different things. You can do these with stock plugins. The first thing you're going to see is the audio effect rack, which is my parallel processing chain. Now, if you haven't seen my video on parallel processing, I definitely recommend checking it out because this is a very important technique for sound design. I have parallel chains, a dry chain, a reverb chain, and a delay chain. So the reverb is using Valhalla Verb, a retro reverb. I'm using Echo Boy for a certain kind of tape delay sound. And then that's all going into what I have here, the murder beats or murder melodies, followed by the Arturia Mellowfi tape. And then I just have some EQ at the end. Now let's get into the Ableton Live stock plugins. I think one of the myths about music production is that you need to buy a lot of stuff to make your music sound good. And the truth is, using the tools that you have on hand is actually all you need. If you go over here, this is Echo through Ableton Live Suite. So let's listen to the original. So there's your tape echo sound. It's going through a very specific chain in my preset that I showed you earlier. You're just hearing what the Echo Boy is doing to the sound. Now we go over to the Ableton Live version, which is right here. And you can hear how similar they are. You'll find that the Echo plugin gives you the tape echo sound, and this is how I put it together. So you can see when you open up your settings in Echo, what you want them to look like. You're gonna hit this arrow right here, and that's gonna actually open up the filter section, which is gonna filter down the high frequency elements because it's actually gonna be quite bright. And then I go over here to character, turn on the wobble, and these are kind of where you want your settings to be to give the sound of the Echo that tape delay effect. I'm using here the Valhalla Vintage Verb as an example. This is an amazing plugin. So many people use it, and it's totally worth the money if you want to spend money on something like that. But like we're doing in this video, we're recreating it with stuff that's right in Ableton. And this is the secret. This is hybrid reverb. This is a convolution reverb, a sample-based reverb. I keep it on the same impulse response that's on default, but I'm going to go over here and I'm going to select algorithm. So this is going to change the way the reverb works. And then the other secret to hybrid reverb is the EQ section. A lot of people completely overlook that there's an EQ here where I'm making things a little bit darker, and that simulates essentially what this plugin is doing. So let's listen to it. Okay, so that's the Valhalla Vintage Verb, and this is the Ableton version. Now, this is what we have so far with just Ableton plugins. And of course, look in the description below for links to download this stuff for free if you want to just pick it up and put it in your hard drive and use it. Okay, so now let's take a listen to our finished sound just using Ableton Live plugins to create this. So there's our sound, and you can see I've done quite a few things after the audio effect rack. So if I minimize that, you can see that everything after the audio effect rack, all that parallel processing we talked about earlier, is going into these 5 plugins. They all do different things, and they're all very easy to understand. So what we're going to do real quick is we're going to add on another echo. So adding a delay after a delay is one of the easiest ways to create big ambient sounds. It's a process of layering plugins, not just trying to have one plugin do everything for you. And you're going to see that kind of continued as we go through here. I've got the cabinet. I turn it on to dual, which is basically making it stereo. Then I have my EQ here. I'm going to maximize the view. You can see I'm taking out the mid-range to help it kind of balance. Then we get into the chorus ensemble. I set it to vibrato, turn on the filter here, and I make sure my rate and my amount are very low. And then Redux, another secret to one of these Ableton plugins, is if you want to create sort of a tape hiss, a really easy way to do it is just pull up Redux and turn the bits down to 12. It's actually going to add like a little bit of hiss in the upper frequency range, and that creates sort of a tape hiss. Another tip that a lot of people don't realize, if I hold down Shift and click and hit Control G, I've essentially created a group for this sound. I can minimize it totally here or pull it up right here, Control R, and rename it, and we'll call this Spacey Lo-Fi Guitar. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. I always appreciate hearing from you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.